Hey YouTube, this is Run to Christ. In tonight's video, we're going to take a look at this charity dinner, which was in attendance by Clinton and Trump, and just about every high-ranking Freemason you could possibly think of. Just to give you a quick idea of who's there.
Chief Executive Officer of Tishman Spire. Brian T. Moynihan, Chief Executive Officer of Bank of America. Kenneth G. Langone, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Invamed Associates, LLC.
But rather than letting you see everybody walk in one by one, I will let the Cardinal do the roll call for you.
Secretary Clinton and Mr. Trump, distinguished leaders in religion, public service, commerce, education, communication, healthcare, charity, and philanthropy, here graciously present on our dais and in this radiant ballroom.
So, you can imagine that everyone in attendance is a somebody. And what you're looking at here, America, this is your rulers, or at least these are the puppets that perform the business for the rulers. Now, this is basically a room full of Catholics, pretty much. Possibly most of them are Jesuits, and they all answer to Rome, that being the Pope, and as the Bible calls him, the Antichrist. Now, if you've seen my clown video, the real creepy clowns, in that video where I mentioned the Jesters are one of the highest groups within Freemasonry. In order to be a jester, you must be a Shriner first. Now you're talking about 32nd degree Freemasons and above. Now they're all gathered here to have what's called a roast, where they make fun of each other and they have a laugh, which is definitely the jester's philosophy.
I love a good roast!
With their motto being mirth is king. Mirth just means jolly, laughter, pleasure, euphoria, that kind of thing. Now to kick things off, they have a priest do what's called an invocation. Now I don't know if you're familiar with occult terminology, but an invocation is basically what they do at the start of any ritual. So it's interesting that they're doing that and using those types of words here at this event.
Certainly it's a pleasure to be with you on this 71st annual Al Smith dinner. I'm grateful to Cardinal Dolan for inviting me to do this invocation.
Invocation, okay. Now here we have invocation, the action of invoking someone or something. An incantation used to invoke a deity or the supernatural. Now here they give a reference to the Christian church. Using an invocation to form words such as in the name of the Father when introducing a prayer, but that's not really biblical, and that's more to do with the Catholic Church again. So he gives the prayer here and he starts talking about unity, which is what the Catholic Church want. They want unity so that everybody will once again be under their control.
Lord, you have favored our great nation with the ability to correct our faults and strengthen our democracy. We ask your blessing upon us at this time so that our nation may come together in unity to elect a president who will be mindful of the laws inherent in our human nature.
So he says there to be mindful of the laws that are inherent in our human nature. Well, according to the Bible, we have a sinful human nature, so making laws that take notice of that and adhere to that wouldn't be a good idea. But something odd here happens that I thought was worth mentioning. The camera switches to Trump, and the Cardinal standing next to him starts swaying and nudges Trump. So I just thought I'd point this out. Check it out.
Life is your greatest gift to us. Teach us to respect life from its natural beginning to its natural end. Help us to reach out to the marginalized in our society.
So he nudges Trump, and Trump starts nodding.
Life is your greatest gift to us. Teach us to respect life from its natural beginning to its natural end. Help us
And then Trump opens his eyes because he's wondering what's happened.
To reach out to the marginalized in our society and assist them in
I just thought that was weird because I think the Cardinal's actually saying something to Trump, maybe bow your head or something, I don't know. So this dinner, it's a tradition to do it every time there's an election going on. So that just hints at the level of interest that the Catholic Church has in American politics. This is a Catholic event, and no doubt it is to perhaps influence the candidates in one way or another.
Tonight, we continue our long tradition during presidential election years. The candidates put aside for one evening all politics, all acrimony. We come together to raise money for the worthiest of causes, the neediest children in our archdiocese.
So the candidates are supposed to put aside all animosity and whatever else, rivalry, but as many people are beginning to realise that both candidates are bought and paid for, most of the presidents were Freemasons. Can the same be said for Clinton and Trump, perhaps? Well, analysing this event, we can certainly get a greater idea of that, if that's the case or not.
You have to remain stoic in the face of insults.
So I thought that was quite an interesting word, stoic, so I looked it up. So here it says, a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. The second definition is quite interesting, a member of the ancient philosophical school of Stoicism. And if you go to the Bible in Acts 17, you'll see, now while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry. And if you skip to verse 18, then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him. And some said, what will this babbler say? Other some, he seemeth to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Jesus and the resurrection. So I thought that was a nice choice of words there by that guy, given that it's pagan Greek philosophers that are known for that word, and they're even documented in the Bible. Little fact there for you. So what is this event all about?
Think of the legacy of Governor Smith.
Governor Smith is the guy who founded this charity do. He was Catholic and he actually ran for president one year.
A decent man who tried to do as much good as he could. And tonight, we honor him in the best way we know. Over a meal, a bit of laughter, and doing it all for the children.
So the best way they know.
No. Over a meal, a bit of laughter.
A meal and a bit of laughter and some charity. Sounds like Jester Freemasons to me.
And without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger, Howard Rubenstein, Mort Zuckerman.
So the joke being here is that Henry Kissinger and the other people that he mentioned are Catholic. I mean, what you're getting told here is the truth in the form of jokes, right?
And without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger, Howard Rubenstein.
Right, all Jews, apparently, you know, and according to the internet conspiracy truthers, the Jews run the world. So this guy's telling you the truth here in the form of a joke.
And without the amazing support of the many devoted Catholics on stage. You know, Catholics like Henry Kissinger.
Okay, because they're not Jews, they are papal court Jews. The answer to the Pope. Now listen to this bit very carefully, this is interesting, check it out.
Before we turn this over to our speakers, I want to address the elephant in the room. I was talking to Cardinal Dolan. No, that was not a plan.
Remember, they're giving you truth here in the form of jokes.
That was not, bear with me. I wish I'd thought of that, it just happened to fall in that way.
So ignore the joke And remember what he said, the elephant in the room. I was talking to the Cardinal, right?
Earlier about the WikiLeaks emails that said certain members of the Clinton campaign wanted to incite a revolution in the Catholic Church. I was pretty concerned. But we had a very constructive conversation with the Clinton campaign, and Cardinal Dolan said, if the cardinals and the clergy haven't destroyed the church in the last 2,000 years, the Democratic operatives don't stand a chance.
Did you catch that?
If the cardinals and the clergy haven't destroyed the church in the last 2,000 years, the Democratic operatives don't stand a chance.
They're telling you who's in charge and that they're indestructible. So if the cardinals and the clergy can't destroy the church, who else is going to be able to? It's not going to be the leader of American politics, because your president answers to Rome just like everybody else. The White House is called the White House after Jesuit Andrew White. It's not because it's painted white, it's because it was his. And here we see Father White baptizes the Indian chief, St. Mary's, 1640. When was it America was founded as a nation? 1776. The Jesuits were already there.
It is historic that Donald is here tonight. That's right, for the first time, the Catholic Church is not the largest tax-exempt landowner here tonight.
So remember, they're telling you the truth in jokes. The Catholic Church own so much land, it's just unthinkable. America is owned by them. Christopher Columbus was funded by Spanish royalty, which answered to the Pope. The Bible says the Antichrist will rule over the kings of the earth. The Spanish king was one of them. Okay, so here we go. On May the 4th, 1493, Pope Alexander VI issued a papal bull, Inter Caetera, which became known as the Doctrine of Discovery. It was central to the Spanish conquest of what the conquering nations called the New World, i.e. America, supporting Spain's strategy to ensure its exclusive right to the lands discovered by Christopher Columbus. The bull stated that any land not hitherto discovered by Christians was available to be claimed and exploited by Christian rulers, i.e. the Pope and his Antichrist army, the Jesuits. It basically meant the barbarous nations could be enslaved or murdered if they refused to convert to Christianity. It also meant that Aboriginal people's long-standing rights to the land could be wiped out. Now, this doctrine of discovery is active in the USA, America's laws. In the USA, where the doctrine has been enshrined in law, it was used as the foundation for the Western expansion and to justify the efforts to eliminate Aboriginal languages, practices, and worldviews, and its effects on Native American sovereignty and treaty obligations. So when Columbus discovered, inverted commas, America, and then they killed all the Native Americans to take over the land, that was on behalf of the Pope. But it goes further back than that. It goes back to 1095 and the papal bull Terra Nullius. It's a Latin expression deriving from Roman law, meaning nobody's land, which is used in international law to describe territory which has never been subject to the sovereignty of any state. Okay? So, it's saying here that this was put in place to establish legal framework for the First Crusade, launched a few years later for the conquest of Muslim lands. So what they did, the Catholic Church, what they did in the Middle East when they conquered Muslim lands, they took that framework and used it to conquer America. Yep, the Jesuits were there before the Pilgrims, Andrew White, the White House, Maryland, Virginia, the Virgin Mary. Okay, the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon. And this meme right here describes what I've just told you, sums it up perfectly. That's a nice nation you got there. Be a shame if someone discovered it. Now, what can we say about Donald Trump? Is he bought and paid for? Like Clinton? Is he part of the establishment's plan? Is he just candidate number 2? Because they're portraying this idea in the press that they're dead against Trump being in or being selected as president. And it would seem that the New World Order would hate Trump to be the next president of America. But he said a few things at this event which makes me think that he's just one of them.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias, to defend religious liberty, and to create a culture that celebrates life. America is in many ways divided. Thank you. America...
And then he goes on to say this.
And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community. Thank you very much. God bless you. And God bless America. Thank you. Thank you.
So he's talking about the one world government there.
And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
And he says the religious leaders here are to be an example for everybody else.
And the great religious leaders here tonight give us all an example that we can follow.
Okay, I don't think they're probably that good of an example, really. And then he says anti-Catholic bias.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
That's in support of the Catholic Church. And as per normal, I'll probably get some grief for that. So bearing that in mind, Trump said a lot of jokes and people were laughing, but as he got through his speech, the jokes started to turn into serious statements, and gradually he wiped the smiles off of everybody's face, and Hillary was definitely seething at some of the things he was saying.
You know, last night I called Hillary a nasty woman. But this stuff is all relative. After listening...
See, she doesn't like being reminded of that.
And I got the chance to meet the people who are working so hard to get her elected. There they are. The heads of NBC, CNN, CBS, ABC. There's the New York Times right over there, and the Washington Post.
Again, truth and jokes. It should be obvious to any of you out there that the mainstream media is totally controlled and they are pushing Clinton as their candidate.
Hillary is so corrupt.
Look at this guy's face, he's totally shocked. Look at it, that's brilliant. Ba-dong.
Hillary is so corrupt. She got... Hillary is so corrupt.
What?
She got kicked off the
I can't believe you're saying this, Donald. How rude, how rude.
Watergate Commission. How corrupt you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission. Pretty corrupt. Hillary is...
Watch the face change. Watch the face change. This guy's like, I can't believe you're saying this, Donald.
Pretty corrupt. Hillary is and has been in politics since the 70s.
Facial expressions just dropped.
Pretty corrupt. Hillary is and has been in politics since the 70s. What's her pitch? The economy is busted. The government's corrupt. Washington is failing. Vote for me. I've been working on these problems for 30 years. I can fix it, she says. I wasn't really...
See, everybody in the entire room is completely uncomfortable with what Trump is doing here. He's not playing the game, and Hillary's facial expressions here are priceless. She's like, she starts breathing heavily and everything. Watch.
Since the 70s. What's her pitch? The economy is busted. The government's corrupt. Washington is failing. Vote for me. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private.
Yeah, now he's getting booed.
Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazil, which is, everyone knows, of course, Hillary's belief that it takes a village, which only makes sense, after all, in places like Haiti, where she's taken a number of them.
So Trump has been coming here his whole life, apparently, according to this statement here.
But I have great memories of coming to this dinner with my father over the years when I was a young man. Great experience for me.
So this guy, Trump, is definitely on the payroll of Rome. The fact that he's even here in attendance, and he said to end anti-Catholic bias.
We can also agree on the need to stand up to anti-Catholic bias.
And also his statement about a world community.
And we've got to come together, not only as a nation, but as a world community.
So, folks, this is all in control of the Jesuits. So, moving on to Clinton. Well, we're not going to spend much time on Clinton because it's a fair gone fact that she is working for the New World Order. Her husband, Bill, he went to Georgetown University, which is the highest Jesuit university in the United States. So I've just got a couple of things to say about her, and then that'll be it.
I hope you enjoyed my remarks tonight. I said no to some jokes that I thought were over the line. But I suppose you can judge for yourself on WikiLeaks in the next few days.
There you have it, mocking you. This lady should be in jail for the WikiLeaks.
And when I think about what Al Smith went through, it's important to just reflect how groundbreaking it was.
By groundbreaking, she means the first Catholic to run for president. Yeah, the first open Catholic to run for president. But he was rejected because the American people at that time didn't want a papist in the Oval Office.
For him, a Catholic, to be my party's nominee for president. Don't forget, school boards sent home letters with children saying that if Al Smith is elected president, you will not be allowed to have or read a Bible. Vote.
That's going on the history of the Catholic Church though, isn't it? Because for over 1,000 years, the Catholic Church did not let anybody have a Bible in their own language, and they put people to death for teaching their children the Lord's Prayer. So as you can imagine, the people who fled Europe to found the nation of America, they had all that in their memories still. Because that's history, folks. The Catholic Church will deny you the Bible. And let's have a little listen to this tidbit of information.
I saw a story recently that said people even claimed the Holland Tunnel was a secret passageway to connect Rome and America to help the Pope rule our country.
Well, that may indeed be a myth about the tunnel. The fact of the matter is that the Pope does rule your country, and the good Protestant people at the time, when Al Smith was running for president, they did not want a Catholic president. They fled Europe to get away from the Pope. And what's the point in installing a papist into the White House? Of course, as I've already said, the White House was owned by a Jesuit, Andrew White.
Now, I'm not Catholic, I'm a Methodist, but one of the things that we share is the belief that in order to achieve salvation, we need both faith and good works.
No, that's not correct. It's faith and faith alone that achieves salvation. Good works will naturally follow if you are genuinely repentant and put all your faith in Jesus Christ and his work on the cross. His work, not your work.
Salvation, we need both faith and good works.
No, just faith and faith alone. Now, here she's going to big up the Pope. Listen to what she says and listen to what she calls him.
And you certainly don't need to be Catholic to be inspired by the humility and heart of the Holy Father, Pope Francis, or to embrace his message.
Holy Father? Huh. So if we go to Matthew 23:9, and call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. And as a Methodist, Hillary, a Methodist, inverted commas, you should know that that's the words of Jesus Christ himself. So you're just revealing your true Catholic nature, really, aren't you? So what's Pope Francis' message? Since he's taken the place of God, yeah? Antichrist. Anti means substitute, or in the place of.
Inspired by the humility and heart of the Holy Father.
So, you calling him Holy Father? The Pope is putting himself in the place of Christ. Antichrist.
His message about rejecting a mindset of hostility.
So his message is about rejecting a mindset of hostility. I take it hostility towards the Catholic Church and the papacy.
His message about rejecting a mindset of hostility. His calls to reduce inequality. His warnings about climate change.
There you go, climate change. Climate change? Really? You're still trying to sell that?
His calls to reduce inequality.
Reduce inequality, okay, so why doesn't he sell his riches? You know, I'm pretty sure the Vatican's pretty rich, isn't it? They have their own bank, their own state, their own palaces, their own land.
His calls to reduce inequality.
Yeah, well, sell everything you got and give it to the poor then.
About climate change.
Climate change, you know, yeah. But this is the best bit from Hillary. There's, without a doubt, there's no doubt after you listen to this about who she serves. And she's going to talk about her running mate, who'll be vice president if she gets in office.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
The Magus, The more the better. Okay. Let's just check out where magis comes from. So, magis is a Latin word that means more or better. It's related to a Latin phrase meaning for the greater glory of God. The roots of this phrase are ascribed to Saint Ignatius. Who? You mean the founder of the Jesuits? They call him a saint, and according to this, he would encourage people around him during his time by asking, "What have I done for God?" When he says that, he's really saying, "What have I done for the Pope? What can I do more for the Pope? What am I doing for the Pope?" And when I say Pope, I actually mean the Black Pope, the Jesuit General Superior. So here you have, you're potentially your next president.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the magis, the more, the better.
So your next president is got talking with a little Jesuit mate, she's probably a Jesuit as well, about a motto that the founder of the Jesuits is known for. You're going to have a Jesuit president, you're going to have a Jesuit pope. It's time to wake up, America.
He knows the truth.
Let's wake them up then, shall we?